Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the Fragment Photoshop action. So the way this action works, it's similar to all my other actions, is that you start off with a photo, you fill in your subject with a colour, it doesn't matter what colour, you run the action, and in this case the Fragment action will create all these effects for you automatically. Everything's layered, so you've got a lot of control over the final look of your design. So I will just show you some more examples of the effect. So here was my original photo, that was after running the action. Okay, so I'm going to jump into Photoshop now, and here is my photo. So just a couple of things you need to check off, just to make sure you run into no errors when you play back the action. So firstly, go to your layer panel here, go to this top right hand corner icon, click on that. It's chopped off on my screen, so I'm just going to detach this panel for a sec. Click on this icon, go to panel options, right down the bottom here, make sure add copy to copy layers and groups is ticked. Click OK on that. Just going to put this back. Next, go to image mode. Make sure you're in RGB color mode and 8 bits of channel is selected. Next, check the image size, and always make sure you're working with high resolution photos with any photo effect actions. From my experience, the best range is between 2000 and 4000 pixels. Okay. You see the resolution of my photo here, so always try to work with high resolution photos. Cancel that. So now what I need to do is load up the brushes that were included in the download. So if you just hit B on the keyboard or activate the brush tool over here, then right click anywhere over the canvas, that'll bring up the brushes panel. So what we need to do here is replace all these brushes with those included in the download. So click on this icon, go to replace brushes, and select the fragment brushes.abr file that was included in the download. Click on that, and you'll see it'll replace all the brushes with the fragment brushes. So click away from that. Still with the brush tool open, hit B. Always make sure that the brush opacity is set to 100% before you run an action. If there's ever brushes included in my actions, always make sure firstly that they're loaded up before you run the action, and that the opacity is at 100%. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is create a new layer. So go to Layer, New Layer, and this must be called Brush, all in lowercase and no spaces. The action will not work at all if this step is not done. So click on that. And the idea with the brush layer is that we want to fill in our subject with a color. So I'm just going to hit W to activate the wand tool. Okay, and I'm going to make sure sample all layers is ticked. If that's unticked and I start clicking around on this layer, you'll see that it's just going to select my entire canvas. I'll deselect that, but if I click on sample all layers, it will sample all the layers below. So you can see that it's starting to select the background. So I'm just holding down Shift as I click around my subject to increase the selection. Okay, I'm just going to zoom right in here, this little bit. Now what I need to do is invert this selection, so Control Shift I or Command Shift I. Okay, so now you can see that it's just outlined my subject. So now what I need to do is fill in my subject with a colour. Now it doesn't matter what colour you fill it in with, so a quick way to fill a selection in with the foreground colour is to hit Alt backspace or Option backspace, and that'll fill in the subject. So I'm just going to zoom in here, I'm just going to grab my pen tool and just fill in this little bit. Okay, so what we need to do now is load up the Actions panel. So go to Window, Actions, and it'll pop up over here. Click on this top right hand corner icon and go to Load Actions. Navigate to the fragment.atn file that was included in the download, and it will pop up here. So everything's set to go. Okay, I'm just going to quickly double check my brush opacity is at 100%. So I hit B. Yep, it's at 100%. So all you need to do now is select the fragment action and click play. Now I'm going to click play, and there's going to be a pop-up that comes up almost immediately. And this is the last step you need to do before the action runs through to the end. It just says, in the next step, select the fragment texture.jpg file that was included in the download. After you have selected the texture, simply move Scarlet over your subject, then press enter on the keyboard to continue the action playback. If you need help with this step, just check back on this tutorial. Now press continue below to proceed. So when this pops up, just click continue. And all you need to do here is navigate to the fragment_texture.jpg that was included in the download. So double click on that, and it will now appear inside your Photoshop file. Now you'll notice that the action hasn't continued playing back. We've got a box around our texture. So all we need to do here, I'm just going to zoom out. All you need to do is just move this over your subject. You can scale it up as well, just to fill in your entire subject. And when you position it, just hit enter. Okay, and that's all you need to do. So the action is going to now run through to the end. The action's got a lot of layers to build, so it's going to take anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes to play back. It really depends on the size of your photo and the speed of your computer. So just hang out for a couple of minutes and it'll be done. I'm just going to fast forward the video, get to the result, and then we'll jump into all the layers. Alright, the action's all done, and you can see the result that I've got. So just close up the action here and the actions panel. So before this action here, I'll come back to this. This is to be run, if you want, after you've run the fragment action. It'll just smooth out your design and give it a bit of an oil paint look. So we'll come back to that, but I'll just close the actions panel. I'm just going to stretch this out a bit. Now, the first thing you want to do, and you want to do this with all of my actions, is to collapse all the folders that are open when the action's just finished playing. So you can see all the folders are open here, and it's just annoying having to go through and manually close them all one by one. So the quick way to do that is to hold down Control Alt or Command Option and click on this arrow next to the folder icon, and then reopen the folder, and everything is collapsed. Okay, so just going to zoom in a bit. Now the very first layer that I like to jump to is this one here. It's called Main Photo, and I've got in brackets here Brush Mask. Now if I turn off this layer, you'll see we've got this shattered version of our photo sitting underneath. And the really cool thing about this layer is that you can select the mask, and if I grab a black brush, so if I just hit B, right click, activate the brushes, and just select this soft brush in the top left hand corner. Now if I start brushing black onto this mask, we're going to hide this layer, and by doing that we're revealing this shattered look underneath. So I can just brush away here, and you can start to blend your photo in a lot more with the background. Okay, like down through here, through the guitar. Excuse me. So that's always the first thing that I like to jump to when the action's just finished, is to just brush around your photo and blend in your subject with this shadowed texture in the background. It looks really cool. Okay, now the next layers that I like to always check out are these two here. I've got glass large and glass small. Most of the time when you run the action, particularly on people as your subject, you're going to get these large bits of glass that are sitting on top of your subject's face, and you either want to delete them or move them around. So if I just hide these two layers, you can see what they are. So there's the small, and here is the large. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off the large for a second. So you can see I've got these two small pieces here. Now there's two ways I could do this. I could just hit M on the keyboard, or grab the rectangular marquee tool here. I can drag a box around this bit of glass, hit V, activate the move tool, and I can move this around if I want to. Or I could simply just select the mask, grab my black brush, and just brush it away. Okay, but I might keep it, I just might move it a little bit. Whoops, I'll select this, move it. You can also rotate it as well, Control T or Command T. Okay, this guy here, I'll just move him out of the way a bit, rotate it a bit. Alright, I'm going to turn the large back on. Excuse me. Now, these two up the top, I don't think I really want, so I'm just going to select the mask and just brush those away. Just like that. Everything else is looking pretty cool. Don't forget, you can just move these around. You're not restricted to where they are. You can see as I move them around, you can get different looks. You can duplicate the layer, create more glass. Controller Command J. I could do that. I could flip it vertically. Edit, transform, flip vertical, wherever that is, down the bottom. Okay, you can create a lot more that way. That looks kind of cool. I like this bit of red up here. So I might actually just keep that. Now, another thing to look out for is when you select one of these glass layers, you'll notice that the fill is at 72%, and it's the same with the small. Now, if I just select the large and I crank this to 100%, you'll notice I'll go from 0, and I'll slowly drag it up. You'll see that the glass starts to fill in a lot more. So by default, I've set it at 72%. So if there's a bit of glass over your subject's face, you can still see the details in the face. But if you turn this to 100, it's going to completely fill in the glass, and you won't be able to see through it. So just experiment with changing that fill. That looks actually really good at 100%, so I'm going to leave that. I'm just going to check out the small, bring that to 100%. I actually like that. I might just bring it down just a little bit. Okay, so play around with that. So they're the first layers that I like to jump to. And right down the bottom here, I've highlighted these in purple as well, because these is more glass layers. You've got glass extra large and glass extra large 2. So I'm just going to zoom out a bit. I'll start moving. These glass layers sit behind everything, so you can see that there. So you can move them around. Might just move that up there a bit. And then you got this one here. These are the largest ones. They sit right at the back, so you can position them where you want. I might move them there. Don't forget you can rotate them, do what you want there. Just going to zoom back in. Okay, so I'll just jump back up to the top now. This layer here, pretty simple. Got overall contrast, in brackets here opacity. Whenever I've got a layer with opacity in brackets, I'm just telling you to play around with this layer through its opacity. So currently it's at 30%. If you just hit the numbers on the keyboard, that's a quick way to adjust opacity. So if I hit 0, it's going to change it to 100%, 2, 20%, 3. So that's a quick way to play around with the opacity. Or you can click on this word, opacity here, click, hold and drag to the right. That will also increase the opacity. So I'm just going to bring it up a little bit, about 40%, maybe 30%. Color options, if you go inside here, I've set up just 10 simple color options, and the way these work is that you just turn on the eye here for the folder, and that will apply a different color. Okay, so, and you can combine these as well, so I could turn on color option 9, and then experiment with a few others, maybe color option 1. And you don't have to use 100% of that color, so I'll just drag this back to 0, and I'm just going to crease it a little bit. Excuse me. I'm at 40%, so you can combine multiple folders together to sort of build different color looks. This layer here, use single color fill. If you turn this on, it's kind of just going to apply a general color over your entire design, and you can just double click in this box here and just change these colors here. Alright, this folder here, split color toning, by default I've got it, the visibility for the folder turned off. If you turn it on, the first thing you'll notice is that half of your design will be blue. So if you go inside this folder, got 2 layers here, got the left side color and the right side color. So you can see the blue here. So if you just double click on this box, you can grab a new color, and that will fill in the left side. Okay, and same with the right. So you can create a split color tone look to your image. And generally what I like to do, if I want to go for the split tones, I start off, I don't apply the color options first. I just get these two colours, and then I jump back into here and then start experimenting with the different colour options to see what works with that split colour tone look. I'm just going to turn that, kind of like it, maybe the blue is a little bit too strong. Just a little hint of blue, that'll do. So this folder here, photo lines, when the action's just finished playing back, I'm just going to hide that mask for a second, and you turn photo lines on, you'll notice that it does nothing. But when you start brushing away and blending your subject into the shadowed texture and then turn the photo lines on, you'll see that you get an outline of your subject that shows through. Yeah, if you go inside this folder, you've got a few layers. Down the bottom here, you've got this one called normal lines. And you can see as I turn it on and off, you can see it starts to outline the subject. You've got this layer above that's called normal lines underscore single color. If you turn that one on, it will apply a solid color to those lines. So you can just double click on this box here and choose a different color to fill in those lines. And then you've got this one at the top here called offset lines. That's just similar to the normal lines, is that the lines are kind of offset. So if I turn this on and off and you look at the bottom of the guitar here, the lines are a bit more wavy. It's just giving it a different type of look. So you can experiment with that one. But for this design, I don't think I'll keep the lines on. I kind of like it just blending into the shadowed texture there. So this layer here, brightness booster and opacity, by default is quite low, 10%, but as I increase it, it will basically just increase the light intensity behind your subject. Just like that there. So yeah, by default it's at 10%. Just play around with the opacity there, see if it suits your photo or not. Darken edges, I'll turn it to 100% and 0, so you can see that there. About 60%. Alright, so next down is the shadow parts folder. Now what I might do here, I might just turn off the visibility for all of these layers and folders for a second, so just so that you can see what's going on. I'm just going to hide the main photo for a second. I'll turn on the background color layer, sorry. Okay, so you can see that when I've turned all these off, you've just got the visibility of all these glass layers here left on. Now, shadow parts, if I turn that folder on, so you can see that there are all these little cuts that sit behind your subject. Alright, and if you just go inside this folder, you've got a few other different folders. This one here doesn't really do too much, it's just got a couple of sort of random cuts here and there. Shadow parts set 1, if you go inside here, there's a bunch of different layers, and if you turn on these the visibility for these layers here, you can apply a single color to some of the cuts. Okay, so if you want to experiment with that, you can do that. You've got these two layers here. I've spelled that wrong, but it's meant to be shadow highlights and highlights glow. If you turn that on and off, you can see it boosts up the brightness of a lot of those clearer glass cuts. So you can see that there. This one here, now shadow parts 2 is basically the main one that fills in your subject with all the smaller cuts. Okay, and if you don't want them, just turn them off. So you can see that there creates a pretty cool look. So I could turn this layer back on. Maybe I didn't want to brush away. Maybe just keep it like that. Okay, so again, just remember you're not restricted to having all of these layers turned on when the action's finished. You're free to just experiment how you want to experiment. So I'm just going to hide that again. Okay, extra cuts, they're just some small, some different sort of shaped cuts there. So you can turn that on and off, you might not want them, it's up to you. Okay, underline photo visibility, by default this was turned off. If you turn it on, you need to go inside here and turn these two on. It doesn't really do too much, it just adds, it just fills in. Say if you turn the main photo layer off, it just helps bring a little bit more visibility back into your subject. So maybe, I'm just going to I'm just going to duplicate this for a second. Let's hide that layer. I'm just going to fill this in black. So say, yeah, I turn these two on, and maybe I just want the visibility for his face to show through like this, and the rest you can still make out what's happening, and I think that looks really cool. So maybe you want to turn these two on and go for that type of approach. Okay, but I'll just keep it like that for a sec. Grunge textures, let me just turn this back off for a sec. Grunge textures, I'll turn this one on. So this, yeah, these grungy textures sort of sit behind everything to just give everything a lot more detail, give the design a lot more detail. Just turn them on, that folder on and off, to see how it affects your design, if you like it or not. There's a bunch of different folders here you can play around with. I've gone through these two here. Glass, zoom lines. Okay, that sits behind everything. So yeah, just turn that one on and off, see if you like it or not. Background texture, very soft background texture that sits behind everything. And you've got this one here, photo color blur. Okay, this just extends the colors of your photo, sort of bleeds them out a bit more. Okay, and when we turn all those back on, we get the completed design. So there's a lot you can deconstruct here, you know, and really fine tune it how you want. Now the background color layer here, just double click on this box, and you can change it to a white. I can color pick the red off this guitar. Okay, use a different color background there if you want. If you want it to fall back onto the original photo background, all you need to do is just hide this layer, and that's actually falling back onto the background of our original photo now. And you might want to remove the background texture, because that'll be sitting on top of it. So now you can see the wall. If I just hide this, so you can see the wall texture there. So that's coming through. That looks kind of cool. Just look better than this. I might just keep that. Now if you want to export your design on a transparent background, just hide these two layers here. Okay, and you can see that the transparency is starting to come through. Now if you want it to be a bit more transparent, you just need to experiment with hiding some layers and seeing you know, how it affects. So you can see the transparency coming through there. Alright, so just go up these layers one by one and see which ones you want to export, you don't want to export with, basically. I'll turn those back on. So that's essentially it. It's very simple to use. Now this folder here, the main folder, you notice that I've got a mask on it. So say, you know, I could hit G, grab my gradient tool out, make sure this is from black to white. If I just drag a gradient here, I might just reverse that actually. You can see that the effect now blends onto the background. So, you know, maybe you want only the effect coming down from the top and not the bottom. So I could just draw a gradient from the bottom to the top here. I'll make that a little bit higher. So now you can see the effect starts at the top here and sort of fades off as we go down. So you can experiment with the mask there as well. Don't forget, I put masks on every single layer and folder. That's to give you complete control over that layer's visibility. So yeah, don't forget that. Now the last thing to show was this oil paint finish. Okay, now the way this works is you just select it, click play. It'll just take a couple seconds, and it's just going to add a little bit of smoothing over over everything. Okay, so that's finished. I'm just going to zoom in a bit here so you can see what's going on. So if you're familiar with the oil paint filter, filter stylized oil paint, that's what I'm using, but I just changed a few things around. So it creates these two layers at the top here. Okay, so if I hide them and show them again, I might just group them actually and just turn it on and off so you can see a bit more of what's happening. Okay, I'm just going to select this group. So there's two layers here. You've got this one here, it's called oil paint finish. Okay, and then you've got this one here, that's sharpening, which sort of brings out the details a lot more. So I found that this depending on what you're going for and your photo, sometimes this oil paint finish looks really cool. So you definitely want to check it out after you've run on the action. And you can also control it. Say if I don't want this oil paint look over his face, I could just select this mask here, grab my black brush, and just brush away. You might want to do it on the sharpener as well to remove that. And if you want it to be a bit more subtle, you can shift select these layers, and then I can drag opacity back down to 0, or just hit 5 on the keyboard. And that'll change the opacity of both those layers 50%. So it's just a subtle oil paint effect. Okay. And guys, that is it. If you wanted to run the action again, I always keep the brush layer hanging around. So you can just drag that to the top and shift select all these, delete them, and then run the action again. Every time you run the action, the arrangement of all these shapes it's completely randomized. So it might be worth running the action 3 or 4 times and then saving out each Photoshop file and then just comparing which one you like the best. But don't forget, you can move all the layers around, sort of position them where you want. Okay. And guys, don't forget, you can be really creative as well with the use of text. So, and because everything's layered, you can push a text layer down into amongst these layers here, and it'll sort of sit behind all the glass. So, for example, I'll just type out Fragment here. I'll just scale this up. Okay. Now, because we've got all these layers, I can just put this down right at the bottom here under shadow parts, and you'll see that it sits behind all those parts there, and you can move it up higher or down really low behind everything else. See that there? Okay, so yeah, experiment with using text in your designs as well. Now, say I wanted, the ability to be able to shadow the text like I've done with this main photo here. So you can see how we just brushed away on that layer there, and it's got all the shadow bits underneath. What if I wanted text to be a part of the design and also have that ability to brush away on the mask and have that be shadowed underneath? So you would have to do that at the beginning of the action. So I'm just going to hide all these for a second. Okay, so say I wanted, I'm just going to type out Fragment again. Okay, say I wanted this text to be in the final, in the result of the action, and have that ability to have it shadow everywhere. What you'll need to do is firstly create your text, and when you've created it, duplicate the layer, Control or Command J. I'll explain to you why we have to duplicate it in a sec. So firstly, what we need to do is merge these 2 layers together, because before you run the action, you can't have any other layer but your background and your brush layer. So if you run the action with some text layers hanging around, you're going to run into errors. So let's merge these 2 together, Control or Command E, that'll merge that onto our background layer. So you can see if I move that around, it's all merged on one layer. Now, I've got this copy of the text here. Now, the reason why I've copied that is because we need to use that as a selection to then apply it to our brush layer. Okay? So what you'll need to do is hold down Control or Command and click on this layer. Okay, so you can see that's created a selection. I'll then select my brush layer. Now fill this selection in with a color, Alt backspace, Option backspace. Okay, so now you can see the brush layer has our text on it. Okay, so that's what you need to do if you wanted to add text around your design and have that ability to shadow it after the action's run. And it would look really cool as well, because you'll get you'll get traces of the text appearing on all these bits of glass as well. So that'll add to the complexity, the look of the design. And don't forget, guys, you can you can combine this action with any other of my actions as well. Say I've finished with this design. Okay, I'm happy with that. What I could do is merge all these together. So Shift select all these layers, Control or Command E. Okay, so now I have everything on my background layer, and then you just follow the same procedure, with other actions. So you create your brush layer, you brush where you want to apply the effects. I've got sparkle effects, light streak effects, oil paint effects, fire effects. If it was the fire action, all I need to do is create my brush layer, and I'll start brushing around where I wanted to apply some fire, like that. And if there's brushes included in the download, you're going to make sure that you load up the fire brushes, run the action, and then you'll get, fire appearing here. So you can really layer up the design and build different elements. So it's not just, you have to run this action, you restrict it to that effect, and you build and build and build. Okay, so that's it, guys. I'm just going to undo all this and just show you the before and after again. So, well, there's the before, but minus the text, and yeah, there's the after. So that's it, guys. I hope you have a lot of fun using the action. It is a lot of fun to use and play around with all the layers. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. If you stuck anywhere along the way or getting errors at the start, just send me an email and I'll fix all that for you. Okay? Thanks, guys.